All right, thanks for your patience, everybody. We'll start off with an introduction. My name is Mike Burrows. I'm CEO of the Inland Valley Development Agency. And for those that don't know what that wonderful acronym is, the IVDA is a joint exercise of powers authority, a special district comprised of the County of San Bernardino, City of San Bernardino, and the cities of Colton and Loma Linda. We've been around since 1990. And were originally formed to essentially revitalize the area that was once Norton Air Force Base and roughly a 3-mile radius around the former base. So we appreciate everybody being here tonight. We are here to talk about our latest project, which is called the Inland Valley Infrastructure Corridor. So just format-wise, we want to keep this very open house format. We're going to provide some overview, some information. If you have need for translation services, obviously check in with the project team. We have communication for you if you so need it. We are live streaming this for folks that couldn't make the trip down here. And the whole intent of tonight is to be able to provide you the access to the information related to the project, allow you to have opportunity to provide input and feedback. So we do have court reporters that will be able to take down that feedback as you think about it here today. There are comment cards that you can also drop off with the team here. And if you think of something later, we will continue to take additional feedback, ideas, suggestions until we actually close the comment period on the public comment phase of the environmental document. And so what we have circulated is a draft environmental impact report for the Inland Valley Infrastructure Corridor. It is a project focused on infrastructure. There's one thing you will not find in that report, anything related to a proposed change in land use or zoning related to the properties included in that corridor. It is laser focused on finding the best way to align and repair our infrastructure. And the reason that we are really excited about this project is because years of coordination and effort have been invested in this, taking the teams from the City of Highland and the City of San Bernardino to agree upon a common standard for roadways, for drainage, for utilities, to be able to improve not only access and mobility, but also safety for everybody's benefit. So that document was prepared by a team of professionals. Tom Dodson Associates is the firm that drafted the document. They will be providing an overview of the project, what's entailed in the environmental impact report itself, and then we'll have an opportunity to provide an opportunity for you to literally ask the team questions and provide your feedback in whatever form you feel comfortable. So we really appreciate your time tonight, and thank you for being here with us. So without further delay, let me Caitlin Dodson Hamilton and Tom Dodson and their team, and they will provide a quick overview for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. As he said, I'm Caitlin Dodson Hamilton. I'm part of the Tom Dodson and Associates team. Many of you guys have seen us before. We're a local company. We work and operate out of San Bernardino. But we are here to talk about the Inland Valley Infrastructure Corridor, environmental impact report specifically. And I think the first item is to talk about the agenda for the evening. I do not have the remote, so yeah, perfect. I was like, perfect. Thank you, Robert. Okay, so Mike just did the welcome and introduction. We're going to do a little overview of the draft environmental impact report, which we prepared to comply with the California Environmental Quality Act. And note that this overview is kind of high level, and that if you want to get into the details, we're here to talk to you about those details, but we're also, we encourage you to write comments if you have questions. That's the purpose of this public review period, and your questions will get answered as part of the final environmental impact report. process. So that's the third thing, is that you will get a chance to kind of have like an open house style opportunity to ask questions and provide feedback in the number of ways that Mike mentioned. And then we'll have closing, and we're going to try to end around 7 o'clock. But if there's additional questions or people that would like to spend a little bit more time with us, we will do our best to accommodate that. I wanted to also introduce that we do have Michael here from Urban Crossroads. He helped to prepare the health risk analysis, the air quality analysis, and the greenhouse gas analysis. So if anybody has any questions on those topics, specifically what's in the documents that we prepared, he can take those questions, but also we recommend that if you have, highly specific comments or questions, that you write those down, because you're going to get a much longer answer in writing. All right, so let's introduce the project. The Inland Valley Infrastructure Corridor, which we term IVIC. I know it's not easy to say, but we're going to use that term. It focuses on infrastructure improvements adjacent to the 3rd and 6th Street corridors in the cities of Highland and San Bernardino. This corridor extends from Tippecanoe on the west to the I-10 freeway on the east, and from 3rd Street / the City Creek Bypass Channel on the south to 6th Street on the north. I do want to note that in the environmental impact report, we do discuss that East Valley Water District is proposing a well and a reservoir, and those may fall outside of these boundaries, but they're fully analyzed in this environmental impact report, and if there are location-specific constraints, they may have to prepare a follow-on environmental document, like an initial study or finding of consistency, something to that effect, to comply with CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act. So as I said, we prepared an environmental impact report for this project. As you can see, the other area that kind of falls outside of the boundaries that I listed is the City Creek Bypass Channel goes all the way to its confluence at Twin Creek. And the channelized portion of this channel, the concrete channel portion, is what we're considering as part of this EIR. We're going to kind of talk a little bit about our partners on this project. They will look familiar. East Valley Water District is one of the partners. They've proposed two pieces of infrastructure that would improve water service and storage in this area, including a well and a reservoir. San Manuel Band of Mission Indians have partnered with us, as they are property owners in this area and benefit from the improvement of infrastructure. The City of San Bernardino, the County of San Bernardino, as there's a tiny pocket of county-owned land. They also have county flood control is involved with the City Creek improvements, and the City of Highland. Moving on, the project objectives for this project, the needs and the benefit, are that infrastructure, to develop infrastructure improvements that provide solutions to the current thoroughfare issues in the area that are experienced by local residents and businesses, or people traversing through the area or traveling through the area. The project demonstrates opportunities to address future needs in the identified area, including water, which includes enhancement to potable water distribution and potential use of recycled water in the future. Sewer, which there's a chance to improve the sewer system and provide upgrades as needed. Roadways is probably the largest component. As you can see on all the maps that are in front of you, there's the blue lines. All of those roadways are in consideration for either capacity expansions or roadway improvements. Stormwater drainage, which includes the City Creek Bypass Channel, which is in need of being upgraded to accommodate existing and future development. As well as utility integration, which includes the sort of concept that there's a potential for electric and other alternative energy systems to be co-installed as some of these facilities are being constructed. I think that the goal here that you may be hearing is, generally speaking, to kind of integrate all of these utilities, use all of the partners that are part of this project to create a more cohesive utility system, including transportation with the roadways. Moving on. I cannot get this page to move. All right, so what are we actually looking at? What is the project? The project is up to 20 miles of roadway, including 1 lane width, City Creek bypass channel improvements. As I mentioned earlier, the East Valley Water District 3.5 million gallon storage reservoir located in the lower zone, and the new well number 1 in the intermediate zone, which can be found in the EIR on maps as to where those zones are located. They overlap partially with the boundaries that you see here, but they generally would serve this area. And then up to 5,000 feet of sewer. I think another really important thing to touch on, and we can talk about this a little bit more in detail, is that all of this wouldn't be constructed concurrently. There's a limit that we put on the EIR for how much roadway would be installed within a year, how much of the City Creek bypass channel would be improved within a year. So this isn't just one project over 1 year. It's one project over the span of a 20-year period to accommodate improvements as needed. Moving on to talk about the draft environmental impact report, which you can see the cover for up there. The draft environmental impact report was prepared and distributed as a project environmental impact report for the aforementioned described project to evaluate infrastructure needs for the area north of the airport within the proposed IVIC boundaries. The public review period began on August 20th and it will end on October 21st, which gives you a few weeks to still review the EIR and provide comments or ask questions. And they should get responded to as part of the final environmental impact process, which we'll go through a little bit later in the presentation. Just for the record, usually environmental impact reports, California Environmental Quality Act, it requires a 45-day period. We extended this to 60 days because it is a large document, so this allows people time to review it and have a little bit of extra time tacked on to the end for that review period. So the environmental impact report covered all of the issues that are in the standard initial study checklist form, which can be found in the California Environmental Quality Act as a law. Those topics include aesthetics, agriculture and forestry, of which there's not any in this area, air quality, biological resources, cultural resources, energy, geology and soils, which includes like seismic hazards and soil erosion, those kinds of impacts, greenhouse gas, hazards and hazardous materials, hydrology and water quality, land use and planning, mineral resources, noise, population and housing, public services, recreation, transportation, tribal cultural resources, utilities and service systems, and wildfire. And having gone through the use of technical studies for many of these topics, including air quality, biological resources, cultural resources, energy, and so on. Only one topic was found to be significant. The remaining issues were found to be either less than significant with mitigation or less than significant without the need for added mitigation. And that singular issue is vehicle miles traveled. This is effectively because whenever you create additional roadway capacity, you will allow additional vehicles to travel on that roadway. And the way that this particular topic is analyzed, it's a very short report, but it indicates that there would be a high enough percentage increase in vehicle miles traveled as a result of the increased capacity on the roadways that it would be a significant impact. So there's no, the amount of construction and operation of these facilities in a year didn't trigger greenhouse gas or air quality or anything like that in any of the technical studies that were prepared. So what are the next steps? I think It was just that the font changed from what I'm looking at. All right. So once the comment period closes, our consulting team, as well as IVDA, will respond to comments and prepare a final environmental impact report. That final environmental impact report will consist of responses to your comments, which anybody who comments today or on a comment card later on will respond to those comments and send them back to you within 10 days prior to the IVDA board hearing, where certification of the EIR will be considered. The EIR also includes a mitigation monitoring and reporting plan, and then our program, and also a findings of fact and statement of overriding considerations for the singular significant impact that this EIR found, the VMT impact. And finally, timing-wise, IVDA is looking at certifying the EIR late this year, more likely early in 2025. And then what happens after the EIR is certified? I think this is a really great table that you all get to look at, because it shows how many projects IVDA has kind of going and with agency partners, and also like the funding sources for these projects. A lot of them received grant funding or in the process of receiving grant funding. So the intent of an EIR like this is to be able to utilize it to create future grant opportunities to support the infrastructure that supports this community. You all can read, so I think that speaks for itself. And with that, I think we're going to conclude this portion, and we're going to kind of move on to a more open house style where you can reach out to anybody with a name tag, myself, Tom, Michael, Mike, Miriam, and the Westbound partners who are here. They can at least guide you to the right person. And then, of course, if you want to provide any comments, we have translators here. We also have the court reporter, and we have comment cards. So you don't necessarily have to speak to a person if that's not something that you're interested in doing. And we really thank you all for being here. I know it's important to kind of learn about what's going on in your community. And hopefully this is a great project to be able to serve this community with its infrastructure needs going into the 20-year horizon future. Thank you.
All right, so as Caitlin has kind of given you the broad overview, obviously an environmental impact report, there's a lot in that. And you're talking thousands of pages of documents and technical studies and analysis there. Miriam Beltran has been our IVDA lead on this project. So as you'll see on the IVDA website, all of the information related to this corridor project is there. Anything will be on that website as we progress forward. But just a final note on this, and Caitlin definitely touched on this, is that's a large area up there. And that's a lot of infrastructure that has, as you all know, not been addressed for a long time. And so from an IVDA perspective, really would like you to consider this as we move along as really a corridor of opportunity, so that many of those partners, and hopefully more, will work with us as IVDA to help bring more and more federal, state, and local funding here to the region to be able to address that for our future. So again, we'll open it up. If anybody has a particular comment or concern that you'd like to address, we are going to be here, and like we say, we've got plenty of resources here to be able to take that feedback however you're comfortable in providing it and whenever you're comfortable in providing it. So again, thank you for being here, but let me just ask right off the top if somebody's got a particular area, and I'll hand you the microphone. Yeah, can we go back to the map? There's a lot of potholes, and that's what we're trying to fix. Well, as you will see, many of the people in this room, myself included, drive those corridors ourselves every single day. That's why we're trying to get this environmental document approved so we can bring funding back to do just that. No, let's go back to the map. Yeah. So no, can we have the map? Yeah. Yeah, please, Tom.
Sir, the best way to communicate what I think what you're trying to say is to say that you believe Fifth Street should be given priority. And that's a comment that we can respond to and we can pay attention to as we move forward.
And unfortunately, we can't do everything with this project. So, we had to stop someplace. I've gotten that question before. So we got as far north as we could with the city partners with this one. So it does go up to 6. So make sure everybody can see that one too. Yes, ma'am. Well, I can tell you this project will do nothing to change anything but the road in front of any of the roads that you see up there. We don't go past the future back a curb anywhere on this. And again, you're living in a property that is permitted for that. Any changes to that would be coming from the city of Highland, and that's not part of this project. I can tell you that. So, any other questions? Sure. No. No, this is roads and infrastructure, and that's it. That's it. Yeah, and again, that comes from either the city of Highland or the city of San Bernardino. When that project goes before them for permits, they condition them to do those additional improvements. So if that does happen, again, that's through the city jurisdiction. What we're trying to do is make sure the roads are addressed in a comprehensive fashion and it doesn't, again, go beyond a road. Yeah. No, I know where you're talking about. Yeah. Okay.
Mike,
Well, I've got a suggestion. Tom, please chime in.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, one of the things we've tried to characterize with this project is that, again, all this is not going to be built immediately. It's going to be done incrementally as funding becomes available. One of the things that happens working with the cities and with the IVDA is that they get other sources of money. And I'm working on a project right now with the city of Highland and Caltrans, because there's some federal funding that's going to become available. There will be a signal at 6th and Victoria as the ultimate design for that street. And it's in the process of being considered, and it's not yet ready to move forward, but it should be ready before too long. So what you're going to see is that IVDA has received some funding to make the improvements from Del Rosa to Victoria, so that back to Victoria and 3rd Street, you're going to have improvements all along that route to what's already there now. It's going to be a better road in that segment. So that's the incremental process that we're looking at to be able to facilitate, I think is the best way to say it. And that's want to make sure you knew there is something in the process right now that could be implemented in the next year or so. No, sir, I don't.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I think it's Patriot.
Yeah, it's a private development group.
It's a private developer.
I believe they got a parcel further north on Victoria, but we can look into that. But I guess your comment's a great one, and your questions are a great one, because really what this project is working to do is try to make sure everybody has a common roadmap, so that as future projects may come up, that there's one toolkit that everybody goes to say, this is what the road needs to be. This is what the drainage needs to look like, so the area can be one area, not this city and then this city and then this city, that it's one roadmap. That's the idea. Yes, sir. We hope not. We all got to get home too.
How about, I cannot answer that question for you firmly one way or the other. What I can say is that there are activities in place now seeking funding to make improvements. The first set of improvements will be associated on 5th Street, will be associated with the improvements on Victoria Avenue. And for about 600 or 700 feet west of Victoria, there will be improvements in that area associated with the Victoria project. That's the funding's being in place. It's being given its final review so that it can be built. So there's part of it that I know is going to be done sooner. I just can't tell you when other things are going to happen.
And I'd love to tell you we have all the money to do all this tomorrow. I wish, because it is very much needed. Other comments or questions? Yes, ma'am.
Mike, may I?
Yeah, please.
2 things. Remember, we're not involved in land use decisions. It is the cities that are doing this. So bear with me. Give me just a little bit of a chance to finish. What will happen is we have geared our ultimate designs for the roadways to match the city's designs at build-out. So as we incrementally do things, the roadways will be improved to be able to accept the traffic over the long term. With regards to the specific measures that are imposed, you need to participate with the cities. In this case, that would be Sterling. It's the city of Highland. And you need to participate with them to make sure that they impose the appropriate mitigation measures. If you'll look in our document, you'll see that we've got a list of air quality mitigation measures that are designed to control dust and to control the types of vehicles that are used on the site. So we've laid out our plan for the areas that we're going to control, and you can look and see what we've done. And if you participate in the City of Highlands process, you can do the same thing and request the highest quality measures that you can get.
Well, you know, I went up to the city of Highland recently, and they told me there was nothing in the works. So
Well, I can't.
I specifically asked about all the projects going on around here, and got told that nothing was going on. 2 days later, they fenced in the lot over here.
It could be a property owner, you know,
You know what, I am a property owner.
right?
I've lived here for 40 years. You guys have never improved our streets, you've never put in sidewalks. How many hit and runs have we had right here on 3rd Street? What just happened the other day? The guy's in critical condition in the hospital. Nobody's saying anything about all of that. You're telling me about road infrastructure and everything else, but you're not giving us an answer. We're the ones that have to live here, we're the ones that have to put up with the traffic. I had 15 trucks, big rigs going past my house the other day. I couldn't even get out to go anywhere because they were holding up the traffic, and they're all lined up along the road. So when they did their little water project, they only tarred our way up the street. How come they didn't go all the way up? The same thing, like he said over there on 6th and Sterling. They only did to part way in the middle of the road. This is getting ridiculous.
Right, so I was just going to encourage, this is related to your dust comment. I was going to encourage you, I recently contacted the city that I live in Redlands, because I saw dust coming from a property from the freeway, and called them and said, hey, this property, I can see it, I think it's on X Street. Can you do something about it? You can call your city and let them know, and they should have somebody go out there and say, no, you can't do this. So if you ever see that, I recommend you call. You don't have to go to the city. Just give them a call. I did see a response on that particular issue, because it is part of their, fugitive dust is not allowed in the South Coast Air Quality Management District anyway, so you have rules that are in place to protect you as a citizen. So if you see something, I recommend you call. Unfortunately, the IVDA doesn't have land use authority. Neither does the airport, but regardless, we're at IVDA here. They don't have land use authority, meaning that they don't have the ability to go to Highland and say, hey, what project is, we want to develop this project, we have land use authority, da-da-da-da. So, as Tom said, we recommend that if you see, something going on, ask the city, and if you can't, if you don't get the right answer, I wish I could help you more, but I don't think this is necessarily the forum for that.
Let me just kind of close the comment on this. All we can do is for the projects that we are participating in is make sure they're done as responsibly as they can be done. That's what we've laid out in the environmental document, is to do that. And I don't doubt that there's a lot of change that is not comfortable, but keep in mind the purpose of these infrastructure components is to build the infrastructure that can handle what is coming.
You're gonna build a sidewalk, you got a high school right down here, I'm gonna
Ma'am,
kids walking back and forth to school, walking in the dirt.
I can point you to drawings that show that we're going to be doing appropriate bike lanes, appropriate sidewalks as the individual components are built. No, ma'am, there's
I've been waiting 40 years since I got annexed into the city of Highland for the water ditch to be concreted in. I remember when that went through, and that has never ever happened. It's caving in all the way down to 3rd Street.
we know that. We've got a new design for it, but there's got to be funding to be able to build it. Ma'am, again, you just have to be able to work and get the funding and be able to do those solutions. They can be done. We're preparing for it.
And my taxes went up for the roads and everything else, so apparently another neighborhood needs it more than I.
Well, what I would suggest, and if you have the time to do it, please fill out a comment card with the location.
And have never received a comment back.
If we can't get the information on the record, then that's nothing that we can't respond to there or pass on to the respective city.
What?
So,
You just said your little thing came out August 20th. Well, how come you're waiting until October 3rd to have the meeting? And it stops, what, October 7th to 16th?
well,
No, it closes October 21st, ma'am.
yeah.
And we waited,
It said August 20th.
part of the,
I just got my little thing in the mail the other day.
part of what is happening is to be able to do the best information that we can. That's the reason for this meeting. It doesn't do any good to have a meeting at the beginning of a process because nobody's had a chance to look at the data,
It's a lot of
look at the report.
So again, thank you for your feedback. We do appreciate it. Anyone else, please?
Hi, my name's Jill Montes. I'm a resident on Parklands Collective for Environmental Justice. I do agree with a lot of things that she has to say. I'm not really sure that this is a right project. The EIR is really a good fit for this because it looks like just a bunch of random projects. And in there, you say you're going to do a mile a year over 20 years. How can you correctly, quantitatively determine what impacts we're going to have in that amount of time with as fast as climate change is going? I mean, you're not going to know what our air quality is going to be like in 10 years or so. I mean, that's just one of my concerns. And in the meantime, they have to kind of sit through this. 20 years is a long time to be waiting for something to be completed. And there's only the main streets are covered. It doesn't look like this, you're going to have a lot of residential improvements, but yet your project description, I believe it's your project description, it might be somewhere else in there, says it's for the residents, but it doesn't really have much. And I assume that you're saying, hey, we're supposed to do this because we're planning for future development. Well, what are you planning? Like, what do you anticipate is going to come through here? And finally, I don't really understand other utility integration. Like, that is very vague to be put on a DEIR. You have to be very, very specific. On one hand, you're saying, we're all doing this, we're the lead agency, however, you won't take responsibility. So if this passes, and if somebody wants to put a project, you don't have to go through this process again. So you are for 20 years in these streets. I mean, I might be wrong, but you're denying them any input on projects that will come up. Is that not correct? Once this gets passed?
It is not correct. And the reason it isn't correct is that you prepare a document like we've done to address the overall program that we're envisioning implementing. And that's laid out. What happens is that you select a scenario to evaluate so that you can put hard data into the report. If we work and improve a mile of road or improve a quarter mile of the City Creek bypass channel, we've got the environmental documentation to do that. But keep in mind, all these have to be approved individually as they come to the fore. The board, they can use the data if it's still applicable. Let's say that instead of doing 1 mile in a year, we end up doing 3 miles because we get the funding. What happens is that you have to come back in and update your environmental document at that point in time.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, let's say that warehouse does want to come in.
Yes.
And it falls within one of these streets.
Yes.
They still use this EIR.
No, they can't.
We have to do it completely separate.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
No, by the way, you said an EIR. they have to comply with CEQA. That's not always an EIR, and I don't want to give you the impression. Okay, the answer is this has nothing to do with land use. Zero. Nobody's getting permission to build anything, except if this is approved, we would have permission to put in some roads, some water line, a new water tank, a new water pump, or no pump, I'm sorry, a well. These are the things that we've examined. Beyond that, nothing else is approved, and this can be approved from this document. It is. But it's all tied to one area that the IVDA is seeking to be able to treat and make it happen and lay a foundation for it to happen, like I indicated, to facilitate these changes to come. Not the land use changes, but the infrastructure changes.
And as far as the map goes, this project doesn't say what goes in between these two streets. The city that does the permitting decides that. And that project, which whatever city is reviewing that project, is going to have to review the environmental document that goes along with it. What this project, this IVDA infrastructure corridor, is seeking to do is to make sure when that city says that project, in whatever form it is, goes forward, that this standard for their construction of that infrastructure is the same as what this city does down the block.
Well, then I would say, if you guys aren't in sync with the city and no, then everybody should say, no, we're not gonna do this. Because then you're gonna still have like this patchwork of, infrastructure again. You know what I mean? You guys should already know, okay, well, Highland says they're gonna do this, and these people say they're gonna do that, and that's how we're all gonna work together. Instead of just building this kind of thing around the residents, I really don't think that that's really fair to them. It looks very much like one of your past projects, I gotta say that, it just looks like a different wrapping.
Well, again, please, if you have additional comments and feedback, get that to us in any form or fashion that you feel comfortable. Thanks. So anything else, folks? Yes, ma'am.
So it's not gonna affect any residents or any people living, they don't have to relocate or nothing?
Nothing to do with zoning, land use at all.
And I got another question, 6th and 5th Street, are you gonna widen those roads? 'Cause they need it, and it's really busy on those roads, besides Township and
Yeah, so what's on this map here and what's in the environmental document is what we call ultimate width, the ultimate improvement that both cities have agreed on to say that is the proper improvement there for additional lanes, streets, sidewalks, street lights, bike lanes if bike lanes are proposed. Both cities have agreed to get us to this point to be able to distribute the document. Yes?
Yeah, is there a sense of we need to bring truck routes to the project? And also how come 4th Street and 4th Street were not included in the project? Because it looks like you spent it maybe in the industry, but not in the business.
Okay.
If it's gonna take 50 years to build it, what are the plans to bring more funding to make it happen?
I'll touch on that.
This is the complicated question because obtaining funding through whatever sources you get it from is difficult to do. It doesn't just show up. You've got to go out and attempt to get it. What we've taken on is the major streets, and we went up to 6th Street because it represents a northern boundary for the types of uses that have been set by the cities, both cities. And north of 6th Street is almost all residential until you get up to Baseline. From 3rd Street up, you have a lot of different uses that are going to come in. We're not going to affect those. What we're going to do is we're going to try and build the infrastructure to what has been designed in the two general plans, the City of Highland, the City of San Bernardino, and for the county area as well, which is a small area down the north, kind of over near 6th Street and Tippecanoe and those areas. There's some county areas in there that we've got that we deal with. But the crux of the issue is we're going to be dealing with trying to pull the funds together to be able to make this happen. For instance, the cost for doing the City Creek Bypass Channel in a way that will handle all the flows is going to be many millions of dollars, probably in the $15 to $30 million category. It takes a while to assemble, go into, get that funding, and work things through. We're going to be working to do it within the area where we think we can have influence. That's what the project focuses on, which is the IVIC corridors.
And then I'll just point out, why a corridor project is important to be able to get that funding, and for us to go through the appropriate CEQA process for a common design and a common requirement out here actually helps accelerate delivery of those projects once funding can be identified. And I encourage any of you, if you haven't been down to 3rd and 5th Street, as you approach the 210 freeway, there's a project right now just wrapping up that we worked hand in hand with the City of Highland on to be able to actually do those improvements. This is really just a broader extension of those regional efforts to make sure that as dollars can be identified, there is a roadmap to be able to get those improvements in the ground for everybody's benefit as quickly as we possibly can. But if we haven't done CEQA, that project doesn't happen. And that's really what we're trying to do here is fast track so it doesn't take a year, over 20 years, to address this infrastructure. The more funds we can get, the quicker we can deliver the infrastructure. But we got to make sure we've complied with CEQA. And that's our intention here, is to do that. So as a city identifies a new project, as the county may identify a new project, or the IVDA for that matter, that we are all on the same page as to what our corridors are going to look like for years to come. Right now, if you had 5 projects going on, and there wasn't this type of advanced planning and design, you are going to continue to get those half widths, down the block that don't line up, and that's not good for anybody. So that's really what the corridor is trying to do, is get everybody on the same page, so you don't have different standards for different blocks through this corridor. I would just say, you've taken your time to come here. If you can make sure that we've got your follow-on information, any updates to this, you will have it along with anyone else that wants more information. And then we can also give you access to all the documentation that's been out there. So again, please, if you can, fill out a comment card with your details. We'll make sure we keep you informed. So we've worked with all of the agencies we had up there, including East Valley Water District, and I'll hand it over to Tom on that.
Very simply, we've identified the infrastructure improvements that are going to be required to serve the build-up of the community. And so when a roadway goes in, the way we would do it is we would actually pull off the drawing that the agencies have agreed to, and make sure that it isn't done halfway. It is done with sidewalks, with bike trails, and with the appropriate lanes for the roadway at full build out for the cities. That's what we're envisioning doing.
I know what you're talking about.
There,
You know, I don't live in East Highlands. I mean, I said I want, but I don't. But I know all those people coming down from East Highland. I know a lot of friends that live out there that work downtown. And they're like, why go around Third? Now I'm getting stuck on all the trucks. And, but when it's still coming down Fifth, but I'm like, yeah, when I come up to Victoria to turn left, it needs a turn right. It needs something up there. It's crazy. Like you said, Sixth Street. I'm doing Sixth Street now. And I'm sitting there forever trying to turn left.
have you driven down 3rd Street from Victoria? 3rd Street from Victoria down to Palm. That's a fully improved roadway. Hang with me. That was overseen by IVDA, and it was what we're looking at is being able to do that for all the roads in the same manner. There's the issue you're talking about in terms of how much improvement comes from one project like a warehouse is you can only impose conditions on a project that have a nexus. You can't make them do the whole road. A city could choose to spend extra funds to do that, but you can't make somebody improve the whole road in front of them, only the half street. That's why you're seeing things come about that way. And we understand what we're trying to do is to create a process that will result in you getting that finished product. And it works. Understood. Well, actually, 5th Street to the east of Victoria has been improved too. If you stop and look, as you pay attention, it's been improved. And that was done again with funding that IVDA and the City of Highland worked to get so they could build that segment that went from Palm to Victoria. This is just so perspective.
I just wanted to chime in and note that while obviously we're talking about creating a roadmap, the intent is to get funding for a longer portion of the road than what you would see happen as a result of a warehouse or
Yes.
any sort of development going in, as you've seen on 3rd Street, which was funded by EDA and as part of an IVDA partnership project. And those take time. Unfortunately, I know we all want things to go lightning quick, but I think I worked on the 5th Street project as one of my first projects 10 years ago. So things do take time. I'm not trying to discourage anybody, but the funding isn't being, it is being sought after continuously, but it's not always going to fall in these pockets. That's really the challenge here. Yeah. It's in the works. It's part of this document. We've been working with the person who did the hydrology for the project and designed it for several years, and so it's high priority because it's an existing issue. It's not something that is the foreseeable future. And I know somebody asked about foreseeable future development. I encourage you to look to the City of Highland and City of San Bernardino general plans. San Bernardino is redoing their general plan right now, but if you want to know what sorts of projects can be developed in this area, look to those, because that's effectively what this infrastructure is meant to support, not necessarily that it's going to facilitate the development of it. It's really to handle existing issues and then the foreseeable future issues as a result of existing general plans and then the future general plan for City of San Bernardino. I'll take your question, although I might hand the mic back to Mike.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if you guys can answer the question about the truck routes, if that's included in the plan, because there's really no plan to fix
No.
the street for the trucks.
Well, truck routes are unfortunately, they're enforceable, but there is a truck route already along 3rd Street, and it has, or is it 5th Street? Is it both? It's both, yeah. So those will remain truck routes, but the capacities of those roadways as far as lane widths or number of lanes is planned to increase over time.
Also, I think in answer to your question, the city establishes what they want to be truck routes. It is not an IVDA. It's
No,
not.
correct.
So when we move forward with infrastructure, a road, we're going to build it to what the city has identified it should be built to as a build-out roadway to be able to handle the traffic that's anticipated all the way through 2030, 2040. That's the best I can share with you. If you want to get routes changed, moved, you'd have to go to the cities and petition them. And of course, when you're on state highways, Caltrans controls. But always remember something, and this is something that I find very difficult to cope with, and just like you do, and that is a vehicle that's licensed can go on any road anywhere.
That's great feedback, and the corridor project that we are proposing, what it does is it takes an entire inventory of not just road, but drainage, but the known utilities, and as many know, the utilities that serve our facilities today, there are new and emerging technologies, other types of energy, green energy. That's really what we're trying to put into one project to be able to allow those cities, as those projects come up, to have one standard for that entire road area so that those aren't missed opportunities in the future. And as Tom mentioned, that gives them a way to be able to then have other funds to do a full width section. And Lord willing, that we as IVDA can be a part of that process to bring additional federal and state and other funds to be able to have that road done before a project comes in, so that is done before that ever even is needed down the road. So it took a lot of time and investment from the various agencies that you see there, so particularly water infrastructure. We said, don't tell us what you have today. What are you seeing 20 years from now that you got to put in here so we don't have to tear up that road if we can get it built? I hate seeing that. And that's what we're trying to get ahead of here so that doesn't happen. And again, with an environmental document, you have to put a forecast as to, under certain conditions, funding being a big one, how long could it take? We don't want it to take 20 years. We want to do this as quickly as we possibly can, but we've got to make sure we've complied with CEQA to do so. So with that, we are hitting up on the 7 o'clock hour, but we are going to stay for a while here. So if you have other feedback, other thoughts that come up, we'll stay a while. And again, the team's here. And if you have other feedback, again, on the website, through the team. We're happy to receive that, make sure that we respond to it in the appropriate way. Comment cards are throughout the room as well. And I just really want to thank you all for your time. This takes time out of your schedules, and we really appreciate you putting it into this project. Thanks.
Mike, may I just reiterate something you've already stated? For those of you who want to stay involved with the process, give us a card, give us your name, and request to be informed directly. And when we can do that, I just learned that it's on the comment card. So if you want to make sure you stay informed about what we're doing, let us know. That's the only way we can make sure we capture everybody that wants to participate. Oh, she wanted a card. Does anybody else have any questions or want to make another comment? No.
It's an open house meeting. Anybody's welcome. Well, no. What those logos are is who has already contributed to the input to be able to provide this plan in the first place. So every city engineer, San Bernardino and Highland, had to agree that road needs to be that wide in that area. So it's been years of them working on, because the standards didn't match.